guys, welcome back to Paint with Josh. Today we did a 16 by 20 inch canvas. Gorgeous blue, cold little scene. Bunch of little waterfalls coming from all over the place. Turned out fantastic. You're obviously excited about painting this one. That's why you clicked on the link. So check the description down below. Make sure you have all the colors you need. Get your canvas nice and wet. Get ready to throw some paint on it. We're gonna do it just like this. Hey guys, back again. All right, so you can see what we've done. We've taken our black gesso, primed this canvas. Now we're gonna take our Bob Ross liquid white. Looks a lot like that. Everybody's got a nice big jar. You can see I've only dipped just the tiniest of the corner in because we don't need a whole lot for this canvas, right? We're gonna start to dump it everywhere. Try not to cover up too much of our stuff, right? It's gonna blend and we don't want it to cover too much area like that. So start at the top, work it out, let it be soft, spread it very thin, right? We don't want it to be too thick in one area and not have any in another area. That's gonna be bad. Look what happens as we start to go over these trees in the back. Oh, they start to turn into like little wintry trees back there. It's fantastic, right? So a lot of these are going to be very far away, distant little soft little trees as we work our liquid white in there. Look at that. The more and more we paint and blend down, the more those guys are going to start to turn very soft, right? Very, very far away. And we're not going to drag our white paint too far down. And whatever blue paint we have there, we add our sky, is also going to start to cover these areas. So you kind of stop when yours looks about right. Just like that. Now let's get our brush washed off. We don't need too much of that liquid white. I always have just a little bit in a little petri dish down here so we can add our highlights and stuff. So always have a little bit on hand, but you don't need a whole lot. Well, look at that, just a little bit. I mean, it's covered the entire thing, but I always try to save one of the old jar lids that we don't use and then every so often swap it out when we get a new jar. Taking it on a paper towel just like that, just over the edge of the table, and you bounce it down and get it nice and dry. Now, let's come in and grab our, we're going to switch brushes. Even though we washed it and we cleaned it and we dried it, there could be the smallest amount of white in there that we don't want. So littlest bit on our Bob Ross liquid clear, you can see it. It's not really dripping off a whole lot because we didn't get a whole lot on the brush. Because we don't need a whole lot, right? Let's drop a little bit down here, maybe some over there, some up here. And I don't want to go up here next to the white and then come back down. It's going to drag any little small amount of white that's up there down here, and that's going to kill all of our darkness. We got to keep it nice and dark down here. That's why we made it dark. We wanted to stay dark, save all these shadows, right? If we place the sun or our light source here or there, a lot of this is not going to be reached with all these very thick trees. So we want to save our dark areas down at the bottom. That's why we do a dark bottom. We got to save it. If we wanted it to be light, guess what? We would have made it white like that. Deep, dark shadows. Now look, we're up here next to the liquid white. I don't want to touch too much, right? There we go. Just get it wet. That's all we really need. A little bit of wetness. Now we're going to take that same paper towel. You can use a different one. I'm going to use the same one that I had before. And we're going to wipe all that clear that we just put on there. Take it and wipe it all off because you don't need all that. Even though you try to put it on very thin and spread it out, you still have all this extra that we don't need. Look at all that. Right? Take that, throw that out. Now we're ready to go. Let's go through all the colors we have today. We have dark sienna brown, Van Dyke brown. I like to confuse these a lot, so get it straight off the bat. Dark sienna, which is the lighter brown, doesn't make sense because you say dark. And then Van Dyke brown, which is the darker brown, and it confuses my mind for some reason. So in the middle, I'll probably call this dark sienna and this Van Dyke brown and flip-flop them. But just so you know, dark sienna, Van Dyke brown, phthalo blue, alizarin crimson, midnight black, titanium white. On our gorgeous canvas, we already have it nice and prepped and primed, ready to go. Let's put the lid on our clear, that way it doesn't dry out. And we need to decide what kind of undercolor we're going to have down here, so when we come across with our white paint, we're going to pick up all those little colors. So, in a nice cold wintry scene, I like to have a little bit of blue undercolor, right? And just kind of put it wherever you think you might want to have a little bit of blue light show through, or a little bit of blue undertone to your bushes or your trees. Have a little bit of blue where you want your water. All right, maybe I'm thinking a little bit of a waterfall scene in here, if we can make it make sense. So we'll add our blue in there. Now I'm going to take our crimson and mix our crimson in on the blue with the same brush. Like we're starting to turn it purple right here. More crimson than blue in this point, right? Now we've changed it all to this different color. Maybe we'll put that purple area up in here. Who knows? You can do it different on your canvas, and we didn't cover down here, so let's put some of that purpley stuff down here. Right? Everywhere that we think we may need a little bit of purple left, you can go up in here. Gorgeous, right? Even filled in a couple of those spots right there. Now, take your brush back and forth across the entire thing. That makes it flat, right? Flat, even space. Now we can wash all the darkness out of this brush. Switch back to our other brush that's nice and dry. It's been drying. Even after we dried it, it's been drying. Boom, nice fresh brush. Man, we went bowling earlier tonight, and boy, are my arms tired, let me tell you. It's like, I don't know if I'll be able to paint on Sunday morning. As you guys know, it's Saturday night for me as we paint the Wednesday video. So how's your Wednesday going? Is it fantastic? Perfect, that's good to hear. Okay, I'm thinking a nice easy blue sky today. What do you guys think? Nothing too crazy. A little bit of blue, tiniest little bit of black. See, we're gonna mix them just like that. A little bit of blue, a little bit of black, maybe come up here. Ooh, drop in this nice big, deep, dark, stormy sky. Look, the more we go over these, the darker they're gonna become. I wanna leave a nice area for some clouds. So, maybe we'll just leave it right in the middle there, right? A little bit more of the blue, tiniest little bit of the black, and you can see it just gives this kind of deeper, darker tone to the sky. Always cover the edges. Nice and easy. Takes about 3 seconds. And that way, you know that if somebody ever buys your painting or you give it to a friend, they're not gonna have to go spend $40, $50 on a frame because you've got it finished on the sides and it already looks done. It's fantastic. Just like that. Okay, now we're gonna switch, we're gonna wash this brush off again. Don't wanna have all that color on there when we go to blend it, that's for sure. You have too much color, everything will grow, we'll lose all of our white area for our clouds. So again, dab it off on a paper towel. That's what we do down here. Like we're playing the drums. I'm sure my dogs are going, is there somebody at the door? All the time. Knock, 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 right? Okay, now we're gonna come up into our white section. Just grab a little bit of the white, pull it out, a little bit of the blue, pull it in, and it'll start to change just very lightly around the edges of where we want our cloud. Just very light, bam, 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 bam. Super easy, doesn't even, watch this. Ooh, doesn't even matter if you accidentally drag a whole big bunch of blue in there, right? It'll end up being a cool little shadow. A little bit that it's gonna make your cloud a little different from everyone else's cloud, and it's gonna make it fantastic. And that's the best part about painting, right? Any part of this whole section right there could turn into a cloud or not, right? Now let's go up into the top corners where we have it much thicker and just crisscross strokes. That's all I'm doing, fast motion, right? Crisscross, crisscross. Maybe you go like this, you just pull it one way and then go back and pull it the other way. As long as we're making an X, it's blending the paint, right? So if you have trouble with your wrist, like my wrist is getting really sore, maybe I paint too much, but I don't know, or I've got a cyst in there, like I don't have a lot of motion, like that's as far back as I can put it. So sometimes the crisscrosses get to be too much is what I'm saying. So you can go one direction and then come back, go the other direction, kind of blend out your little blue sky. That piece got really dark right there for some reason, but it's okay, very stormy back there, very stormy. All right, wash this brush off again. Right, the more we blend it, the more of that white is gonna go away, and we don't wanna lose it all. So, stop before you lose it all. Otherwise, you're just gonna have a pure blue sky with no bits of white in it. And every time I'm looking up at a cloud, there's always a difference. There's some, you know, it's very dark in the top of the sky, and as it gets down to the horizon, it always gets to be that lighter blue, which is what this liquid white allows us to do. Automatically, we don't have to do anything. You get these really cool skies, and yours again might look different than someone else's, right? Watch this. Take some of that light color, bring it in, crisscross back and forth. Be like cool little bits kind of shooting into our sky. I always go up there. Every time I clean the brush, I go up and make it dirty again, which is the fun part to me. Okay, now we have not lost all of our little white areas, light little bit, and maybe our light source is coming from, I mean, it could be anywhere. It depends on which side we want to choose. Maybe it's coming from this side. That's what we'll pick in our brains. Now we're gonna grab a little bit of a no, you know what? I'm gonna show you a cool thing. I was recently playing around with that 4-piece painting. I don't know if you've seen it or not, but very cool little way that I was making clouds out of that with the bush brush, right? So we're gonna take our bush brush, gonna tap it into the paint just like this, Tap, 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 tap. Fills the paint, fills the brush full of paint, and then we can come up here and, oh, look at that. It just starts making these really cool little tip tops of our clouds that are very wispy and very far away. And your brush will start to turn blue. Right? You can wipe it off on a paper towel, come back, tap into some more. If you don't wipe it on a paper towel, this is going to immediately start to turn blue. Right? Maybe come in a few little bits. Right? You're like, oh, that kind of looks wank, Josh. It doesn't look like a cloud, Josh. What are you doing, Josh? All right, we're going to take our 1-inch brush, come up here very lightly in some areas, leaving really only the very tip tops untouched. Come in here like that. Bam, 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 bam. Very cool little thing. Now watch. We're going to take our 2-inch brush. Nice dry 2-inch brush. Pull it up. Flatten them. You get all these very cool little details out towards the edge. Now why don't we take our bigger brush. Same shape brush, just a little bit bigger. Add a little bit of our purpley kind of shadow in there. And pop in just a couple little areas that may be a little bit darker on that cloud up there. And again, you're like, Josh, those look like bushes or trees. They're not clouds. Take them, mix them up. Mix it up. Right? You can take the bottom of these guys sometimes, pull them off flat, and they start to look really, really cool. Like the cloud's moving. Right? The more pressure you have, the more of that illusion you're going to create. That it's being pulled sideways. Watch. Now we're going to come in right on top of all that darkness as we tap and load our brush. Come up in here and kind of split that darkness right in between. Get a new little cloud in there. Fantastic, easy little way to make a gorgeous little sky, just like that. Right? Maybe this guy, I don't know, he's got a couple little floater buddies. Not so hard on the pressure. And that way, when we go to flatten him out, he'll just turn into this really soft little faraway thing. And that was just with the 2-inch brush, didn't even mix it up. Right? Very light little circles, tiny, tiny, tiny little things, not touching the very top edge, okay? Because we're gonna come down, we're gonna flatten it. Bam, just like that. Very cool little cloud. And the more you go over it, the more you're gonna ruin all these very cool little things. I'm hoping we can zoom in as closely so you can see all these gorgeous little things. Gorgeous, right? If it doesn't look right in a certain area, just mix it up. Come back in. Add a little bit of brightness if you think you needed it, or whatever. Flatten it down, same thing over and over and over again. We make these very cool, soft little skies back there. Awesome. Totally awesome. Okay, now I want to add a new section of forest maybe in front of these further off guys back here. So let's wash some of these brushes before we get too far ahead of ourselves, Joshy. Nice and dry. Man, our clouds look really cool, but there's one thing I was noticing right here as we were cleaning the brush. It's very dark right there. So let's see if we can grab it and like push it up. Blend it. There we go. Look at that. It's not such a dark, hard line anymore, right? You can do all these little cool things that you never even thought you could do. You never even thought. So let's take a brush. And like we said, we're going to make some faraway forests. So let's make up a color. Our nice shadowy color. Black, crimson, blue. Just like that. Make this faraway sort of little foresty color, right? Take a little bit of white and a fair amount of it. We want it to go this light grayish. Oh, there it is right there. And that light gray color is going to stand out very prominent against this darker color. It's going to stand out almost like it's white, so you don't want it to be too very bright. Right? And always have a little bit of darkness that you can pull back in and get a little bit of dark back in there, right? If it starts to be too light, or if it sticks out too much. Right? I don't want to have a little bit of something back in here, so maybe let's pop in just up and down. Very light. See that? How they really start to stand out against those other trees. Pushes them way off in the distance back there. The very cool thing about that is you can take your brush, slide it up like that, and then we can pop in little bits of fog. Just like this, by messing it up, really. By mixing it, by kind of just making the bottom of it almost unseen. You can't really see what's going on down there, right? I can't. All the glare over here, I can't see anything. So, as usual, we never make up enough paint, so let's add a little bit more white into that color right there. Pull it all down. Make sure it's all sort of uniformly that lightish color. Come back, add a little bit more. And maybe we'll come back in just the top of the brush, kind of popping it down. And you get these really cool little tip-top tree shapes just in there like that. And we'll go all the way across. Very lightly. More little things get lit up. All right, again, we're going to flatten it down. It's the same process over and over and over again. Every layer, same process. Okay, come back in with the top of the brush. Trying to stay out of your guys' way. Let's start over here. Top of the brush, pulling it down, tapping into it almost all the way to the top of those trees. Right? The more we tap into there, the more it'll turn them into fog. And you got to have a lot of fog at the base of your little trees to kind of decide where is the bottom. Where's it gonna? Where is that? Are they way down here and we just can't see the bottom because the light hasn't reached down there yet? Is the bottom right here? You know what I mean? Where is it? Does it travel? Does it move? You can have it do whatever you want to do. And again, that's the most fun about painting. Take those same three colors, blue, crimson, black. If you don't have crimson, you can use red, or, you know, it doesn't have to be alizarin crimson. It can be any sort of crimson-y color, scarlet, red, you know, any sort of dark reddish color, right? You don't have to use the same stuff that I'm using. It helps if you do. It's easier that way. But as long as you can go get some colors and go, okay, this color is the same as when Josh says Van Dyke Brown, I just go to raw umber or burnt umber, whichever one it is. I can't remember which one it is. Paint on me. Like, let's get crazy, right? It's getting hot in here. Every time I get on camera, I just start to sweat. Is it nerves? Who knows? Who knows? Okay, we've made a little bit darker of a color now. All right, I just want to see maybe in a couple spots, maybe we can even pop in the illusion that there's a few more trees back in here. Just a little, another little layer. Just in a couple little areas, right? It doesn't have to be crazy. I mean, it almost looks to the same color, really. Very close to the same. It's just that little bit different. It's going to add a cool little thing. Again, making our tree, you don't even have to tap it. Like, oh, it's too loud when I tap it. I got people that sleep in the house and I can't tap. Just make circles in, right? The more circles you make, the more pressure you put, the more the paint's going to drag around on the canvas and have a cool old time. And that looks so neat right there, almost like something comes out and falls off. That'd be a cool way to go. Ooh, that would be neat. Or if we don't want to do that, right? Just mix it up till it's gone. Poof, it's like it was never there. What's going to happen? How are you going to play out your scene? What's going to happen when you get down in your forest and you're like, oh, it'd be neat if there was just a few more sharper little buddies right back in there, just like that. Right? Because yours is going to look different than mine, which is perfectly fine. It's supposed to look different than mine. It's supposed to look different than hers and his and theirs and them's and everyone else's, right? That's what makes art so fantastic, at least to me. Like, what if we put a couple little, just because it would look cool, as I get paint all over every handle in my, on my table. If it has a handle, it has paint on it, let me tell you. Get a little bit of white, but not a lot. Like, if you think you got just enough, grab less. Little small bit of white, maybe back on some of these guys. You just touch, and any little tree trunk that might, you know, just barely, like just little teeny tiny things. Like this guy's even got too much, and I don't want him to be too thick. Drop one down like that too. Smallest amount. This paint, and especially if it's white, is really gonna wanna stand out so crazily. So little teeny tiny pieces, guys. And then just couple little frozen tree trunks back there. Again, same thing. Flatten them down. That's why, again, you don't want them to be too bright or too much paint, because then they're going to grow like crazy. Like this guy was a bit too long. Right? But again, we can take them, decide where we want them to show, what we want to show. Very simply and easily mix them up until we look, you know, until they look how we want them to look. They don't have to. We don't have to see every part of them. And again, yours is going to look a little bit different. So, don't worry, right? Don't look at all that. Fuck. Man, okay, I got a good idea. I got an idea. I got, right? We're going to have a lot of big rocks, so we need to make a lot of dark paint. And let's just do it with the brush. Let's get a lot of that Van Dyke brown, the darker brown. Hey, I said it right for once. Van Dyke brown. How about that? A little bit of our black. into that same mixture, load it up onto our brush, both sides, nice and nasty and thick, right? And then maybe, I don't know, there was like a, I love how I say that all the time. Maybe, I don't know, there was like a little bit of a crazy rock that just lives back here. We're gonna fill it all in with that paint because that's gonna allow us to grip and grab on all of the little bits with our knife as we're pulling it down. If you have something underneath to grab it, it's gonna make it a little bit easier. So I don't wanna go down too far. Maybe we got our rock, it's gonna come down here. We'll have a little bit of waterfall coming out of there. So maybe we should do that first. Let's do that first. Like a little dribbling, just kind of bouncing all over as it gets down here. Maybe it falls off again. Who knows? Maybe we got one that comes out of the forest from the other side. I don't want to have too many. I don't want to have too many. That's going to look weird. To me, anyway. We could have all sorts of stuff. Just crazy things are coming to my brain, trying to decide what we want to do, right? Maybe our rock didn't go up high enough. There we go. Yeah, a little bit in there. It'll give us a lot of ways we can sit and pull and have a lot of fun. So if we want, maybe we don't want the waterfall coming out of there. Maybe we want it to come down here. It would look so neat though if it came out of there, right? Just make a decision, Josh. What are we gonna paint? I don't know, I'm giving you a chance to catch up. That's what I'm gonna say. I'll give you a chance to catch up while I try to plan out what's gonna happen. If we come down and it falls, right? It's got a little bit, I can't let it get too big on us. Falls again, right? That's, in my mind, it was going to be one bigger fall from back here. Have it come down and then hit, and then we can dribble out into some water. That would be kind of cool. Have this thing kind of cover over wherever the water is coming out of. I don't know. Makes a lot of sense to me. All right, first off, let's see. Let's get a little bit of white. Just a little bit on the brush, so you don't need to fill up the whole bristles, not a lot. Even the edges don't even have a lot of paint on them. All right, bam, bam, bam. There we go. Okay. Now, if it came down, if it came straight down, right, we could always fix the rock, but straight down over there, hit, and then made a couple little babbles. What are we gonna put on that side is the question. Why don't we do this? Let's just make a decision. Here we go. We're going to go from the side. It's going to come out. It's going to start to fall down like that. Just a couple. Not too many. All right, now we can hit something. It was come down just by adding that little bit of white, and we're revealing the blue that's underneath, right? Now, before we get too far, I got to add something into the background, but at least we know where it's going to come from, what it's going to do, and then this rock can go and cover over, you know, the bits of water that we don't want to, that we can't show, like it's coming out of the rock like that. Fantastic. Fantastic. And then we'll have it come down here. Poof. Now we've covered our whole side over there with this big old giant rock. And that'll be cool. All right, let's put a couple little things in underneath, like a couple little little different kind of trees in there, right? A little bit of our black, a little bit of our crimson. Just kind of dab them in again. Same thing into that same color down here. It doesn't really matter. We're going to highlight them differently anyway. And what if we come up and just start popping in, kind of rotate the brush. Cool little things that are living out here, right? Living out here. We can always go back and fix our waterfall and do whatever we want. Let's add a little bit of our, you know, we got to have it come down far enough to our shore down here where it's going to make sense. Look at that big old giant bush. This thing makes some bushes, let me tell you. Remember though, tap it in, load the brush like this, and that way when we tap it back there, we're going to leave just a small amount of texture. All right, maybe I had a whole nother big old giant bush that lived out there. Kind of cool. Ooh, now there's like a little pathway if we leave this guy open. All right, just kind of adding little bits of tiny amount of texture that are going to grab the paint when we go back over it. Ooh, what if we had a little river come from back there? Just a small guy is going to connect up with this guy, and then he'll turn and go back the other way. That'll be cool. That would look kind of cool, I would think. So let's take a little bit of that white again on the brush. Remember, we've already put our dark undercolor underneath it. So if we come from back here, right, we come out, and we come down just a little bit. A little mini waterfall. All right, start to come over. Leave some of those areas dark, though. You don't want to have too much. And then we can always come back and cover it with whatever we don't want to be water can be land. There we go. Starts to come around this way. Just by making long, flat strokes if you can. Just like that. Cool little bit of water. Maybe this guy, we'll add a little bit of white to the brush down here. So we can make one more little, maybe this guy comes in and falls down this way. Right? We can always go back in and cover our bit with things that we don't like. And he comes over here, kind of falls down. See how I'm pulling over to the side and then we go down, pull over, kind of follow those angles. Don't get too crazy. That's very cool. Look at that darkness that we saved back there, right? You want those little bits. And then we can take the smallest amount, maybe pull it like it's just coming over the edge, but not really losing all those things back there. And again, we'll come back in and cover whatever we don't like with land. Push all that water back away. Or we just do the whole thing in water. Holy cow, look at that. Take it upwards like this, like we're making grass. That's how you make those little splashy shapes. A little bit of splashiness, nothing too crazy. It's not falling very far. Take your splash, pull it out in different ways. Keep it dark over there by our little guy. That's very cool. That is a cool little thing. That is a cool little thing. Lets it fall down. We'll put something in front of this side, so we were only showing it falling into one side. Little teeny tiny splash back there, if any, right? We're not going to see it. We're not going to see that part. It's going to come up. A little bit of a ripple back there. And if you want to see that, you have to have a little bit of white. So we go to the side and then pull over and down. Same thing. Decide where you want your water to be. And you can do that just by pulling straight over. Right? Just like that. Very cool. Very cool. You can extend it. Again, we can always push it back with stuff we don't like. There we go. Now I can see another place that might look neat if we had one more little waterfall drop off. Over here. Little things. Little bits. Maybe it fell over a rock right there. Something happened where it had to go over something. Maybe over here. Pull it over the other side. Line it up. Leave that little bit of darkness in there though. Right? Make sure our water connects to the water above it, but also leaving little dark shadows back in there. Very cool. Very cool. Don't want to make it too light. There we go. Man, I like that. That is so cool. I'm just going to do it all water. We're going to have a whole little thing of water back here. Out to the edge. Just like that. Very cool. Holy cow. That's neat. If we can just soften it a little bit. Just kind of going up on our waterfall areas. Pulling it over. Very soft. Following our angles. Just like that. We got to have a little splash on our top guy up here though. He looks kind of funny with no splash. And he's coming from a taller place, so he's got to have more little splashy areas, right? Again, pull it to the edge, pulling it flat till it falls off. Very cool. Don't want to do too many going this way. Like, of course, our brains are going to go, yeah, the water's going to go off to the side that way as well. There we go. Very neat. Don't want to cover up all of that darkness, right? Can't just pull straight down. You have to have a little bit of pull with it. Super cool. I like that. What if we take our edge of our knife, at least the small side, put like little ripples back in here, just by letting the paint kind of roll off of our knife however it wants, right? Maybe take the long side, might be easier. Just put a little bit of like disturbance, a little bit of white water coming over the edge. You don't have to do this part if you don't want. Just adds a little bit of, I don't know, realism for me. That's how the water would look better in my brain. So again, I'm going to put a little bit back here, just a couple little waves in our bit, kind of leading up to our waterfall. And that way we have all these little differences, little bits of rock where the water would have to go over the rock, just by scrubbing them in and leaving it, making a mess, right? Because that's all we do. We're making messes back here. A little bit more. Put in just a couple little waves. couple little bits where maybe the water's got to screech over some rocks or some sort of something. Little things. But again, leaving little differences is all we need. And a little brush, well, a big old brush, to make them just so light. Just a couple hairs and some air is all we really need to go right there. All right, now back to our bushes back here. We need to get a little bit of white, littlest bit of blue. Don't need too much. Don't want to have it go too crazy blue on us. Yeah, there we go. All right, put in too much blue and it will forever be too blue. Now a little bit of blue, a little bit of white. We'll go back to where we had those bushes back here. And maybe there's just a couple little things that get lit up, right? Always leaving little darknesses in between the bushes or in between our lit up areas. Starts to go back across our waterfall back there. Cool little things, right? Just by tapping them in, dabbing in little bits. We're not pushing so hard that we're smushing the paint, right? That's not what we're doing. I want to have a little bit of mist down underneath here. So if I can just grab the littlest bit of that whitish color, just so we can have a cool little piece down there. Or watch this, we're going to put in a little bit of white, just a little bit, right? And we know that's not for our leaves, but it's for our mist that's kind of gathering down around the bottom of those trees back there. What's going on way down in there? And if we add that little area of light back in there, that means we can come back with a little bit of dark and a little brush, a little liner brush, a little bit of paint thinner right into our dark color. And with that small little amount of light, all this dark is going to bounce off of there like little tree branches are stuck back inside there. Cool little things, right? Look, just be fast. Cool little bits, because it doesn't have to look perfect, right? They're not even going to be highlighted. They're in the shadows down underneath. If we can even see them by the end, we'll be happy, right? Little black things, just quickly make a mess. Make a couple little tree branches back there. Don't want to have too many. Don't want to have too many. It'll lose its effect if they're all too many back there. But somebody that's really looking to buy your painting is going to notice all those cool little bits, little swipes and little things when they're zoomed into your painting back there, right? Now let's take a little bit of dark on our fan brush. The same fan brush, we haven't really washed it. We come back in here and just upside down, kind of tap in a little area of grass back there, some sort of something. Don't get too close to our water. And if you do, take a little bit of our dark and black and put it in between our bushes and the bit of water back there. And it'll look like a little bit of land underneath. It's kind of separating those two colors. Right? Just like that. Don't want it to really touch anywhere else or get too big. But just like that, we'll go in there, come back with a little bit of our water and make sure it looks like our water is going over the land, right? Yeah. Just like that. You could have it come down every which way. You could have all sorts of little waterfalls going on back there. But I don't want it to get too crazy or too hard for you guys, right? If it's too hard, and you're not going to want to do it. But everywhere that it looks kind of funky, like there's too much space in between, just add another little bit of a waterfall coming down. And if you do that, right, especially over the darker areas and you try to save some of that dark, it'll end up looking really, really neat. And then pop in just a little bit of splash down around the bottom. And if you can, pull out the smallest little bit of it. And you get these really cool little things. This guy over here looks like he missed out on all of his splash. There you go. Right, pulling it from, grabbing it from different areas of the splash, so it's not all, pulled out from the same kind of elevation. There we go. Very cool. Cool little thing. All the darkness back here. What are we going to put over here? Now, we don't want it to be the same color as all these back here, otherwise it'll all look the same, and that's not what we want. We want to have a lot more white. I'm going to drag down more white, start to fill that up. Right, just tapping it in. Again, we don't have it really super goopy back here, so it's not going to be crazy. Maybe out here, ooh, look at how those guys stand out. Like they're a little bit closer than the ones before, right? A couple little bits. Rotate the brush so it looks round. That's what I like to do anyway. Right, leaving little dark areas. Cool little things. Very cool. Those look really neat. Don't want to do too much to that. It looks like they're even overhanging the water. That's why we leave it dark under there, guys. Ooh, that looks cool. That's very neat. I'm not even gonna touch it. So cool. Like a couple of just overhang, about to dip into the water back there. Very neat. Gonna come back, gotta cover where our waterfall's coming from back there. And just like that, don't go too crazy though, because look, it's getting really, really, really white. So maybe if we can come back in with a bit of that darkness and just cover over a few little areas. It's gonna look like a different bush, but that's fine. We don't need it to look 100% the same. And watch, if we don't like that guy, we'll take the attention off of him by adding like a bunch of tree branches come out of him. That'll be cool. All right, so if yours gets a little bit too white, how do we decide? We decided they were hanging down. Put in a couple little branches coming out of this guy, or just able to see. You got to have enough paint thinner so that dark stays with your brush as it goes through. It doesn't mix in too much with all those little bits. A little bit over here, maybe there's a branch out there. Just real fast, wherever. It doesn't even matter, right? It looks like a little guy back here. You can even take your same brush, go back in, and wherever you got too many branches, pop in a couple more. See, just kind of splits it up like that. A little bit. Maybe this guy's got a little, right on the edge, this tree up here. A little branch popped out and grew a little bit more than the rest. Very cool. This guy down here, he's just trying to grab the water so much. So much. It's almost too much. And we pull back to the side, then we pull away, just letting it get darker and darker and darker back there. Just like that. Very cool. Okay, now let's go over to our rock. We're going to take our rock, and we're going to make some rocky colors out of it, right? Be very neat. Look at these cool trees. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Let's take our brown and our black and the blue and crimson. Make this dark brownish color back here. Look at that. Super dark. You put all four of those colors together, makes it really dark. Okay, now that's going to be sort of our base shadowy color. Let's come in here and get a little bit of white, a little bit of brown, a little bit of brown. Mix these guys up over here. That way it'll be, see how that white tries to come through right at the end? Bam, push hard, mix it flat. That'll be our highlight color. This will be sort of our shadowy color. So wherever we would imagine, all of our light is coming from this side, so let's put our shadowy bits maybe back in here. Whatever gets covered, just by letting them fall off the knife. That's all we're doing. Just leaving a little bit of grip for our highlight color when we come in. All right, maybe there's a bit back here. This is where you can really fine tune the edges of your rock and hide things that you didn't like and push things back very simply and easily. Okay, now let's grab that highlight color. We're going to come in over the top and just start to wiggle it down, letting it mix in with those colors. Right? Look at that. Very lightly, and the more and more you wiggle it, the more it will start to kind of blend. Look, like, oh, it's too dark up here. Well, let's take it and go over it a few more times until it changes. And now we have that little opening in there. Or come over here. Start to pull it down very softly. You get all these very cool little breaks. Right? It's almost like you've scraped up a thing. Now we're going to let the knife float, and the only thing that's going to touch is the paint. Right? When the paint comes off, that's how we know. When you can't, all of a sudden it's changed to a very, very, very light color. That's how we know we have no more paint. Now you can go in and kind of shape and change the look of it by mixing it. Come back a little bit again, very lightly. You can add in some more light, right? And then just at different places, change how it looks just by mixing it up a bit, right? By pushing a little bit harder and then coming back, going over it very lightly. You can change your whole mountain. You can move mountains, which is a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun moving mountains. See how much fun I had? See how much fun? See how dark we left it down here, though? You gotta leave it dark in the corner. So no matter how much highlight we put on the sides, it's gotta be only light on the one side, dark on the other. Okay, I never like to have it be so super straight, so just like that, just by pulling over the smallest bit and letting go, you change up the whole look. All right, we'll come down here, kind of turn our knife and rotate it, and it'll look like a little rounded piece. Right, very low as my knife clanks down on here. Very cool. Just all of a sudden changes the whole look. Go over it a couple more times just till it blends to about the same color as the rest of it. And that's very neat. Very neat. Well, we put one little tree, since we haven't done a tree that we've had to paint yet, a little pine tree, right? Just a little bit of the dark color will come up here, just straight down. Right? Just making a little bit of a tree trunk for us to follow along with. Who knows? We'll try to do it Bob's way. Go down. There we go. Nice old saggy, down, hanging branches. And on top of our little guy, just like that. Right? You can flip it over. Kind of fill him in however you want, however you think he looks best up there. Nice old saggy old guy. He had a friend, but his friend kind of lost the majority of his branches and stuff. So he's just up there all lonesome. Oh, almost did it the way that Josh normally does it. There we go. Very cool. You can always go back in, add his little friend, give him a couple little branches, just back and forth, side to side, fill it in. Just like that. Very cool. Okay, take our little bit of our kind of brownish highlighty color. Right, just the smallest little bit. Come up where you think you might see a little bit of trunk. And just pop in a little bit of trunk, just like that. Doesn't have to be the same anywhere. That's the best part. A little bit of liquid white onto our brush, into our kind of whitish, bluish, whitish mixture. A little bit more liquid white, so it's very runny. Very runny, just like that. All right, that way it'll come off of the brush easier. When we come up here, tap in our little tree trunk. I always give it a little top to it. And then we'll come in and just bounce off. Just little things. Try not to highlight everything. Skip some, go down, get a cool little tree, just like that. Dab, 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 dab. Skipping as we go down. Right? Don't have to highlight the whole tree. Never going to see all the branches of every tree ever, so don't highlight them all. Man, that's cool. Very neat. Cool little thing. Cool little thing. So, I think we're calling it about done. I mean, that is a fantastic little painting. Don't want to make it too difficult for everybody, of course. Gotta have people that want to paint it. Not like that 4-panel painting. Woo, that one's going to be a tough one. That one is going to be advanced level painting, okay? Let's go over here. Put the family in. Now, I always do 3 birds. They signify myself, my wife, London, and my daughter. And they fly into every painting that we ever do. It's the only way we get to travel. And I encourage you to add, you know, if you've got one, if it's just you at home, just put 1. Or if you got 5 people in your family, put 5. Or put 2 over here and 3 over here. Or 4 over there and 6 over there. How many people you got in your family? You can always add your little flock. Josh's little flock, right? Come in here. I like doing it down in a darker area. Let's see. Just small. Don't need to go all crazy today. Oh, I can never paint my signature. It always comes out looking like somebody else did it. That's horrible. Who else doesn't like their signature? All right, just like that though. Make it a little fogginess for the next round. Try number 2. Here we go. Now everyone's watching. Everyone's watching you fail to sign your own painting, Josh. There we go. Excellent. All right, well, I'm super excited to see your version of this painting. And, I mean, you could go back in and add little details for days. Just little bits of water line, different places as it's coming down the river. It's landed at the bottom of our little waterfalls. Just cool little things, right? Always take this in. Just mix it in just like we do with our little bits of mountain mixture back here. Mix it and makes it look like rapids. Very cool. And if it ever becomes too white, you just go back in with your little bit of blue. Right? Make little dark areas. Just change it up just the smallest bit. Very cool. Very, very cool. Very cool. Couple little things, little waves growing. And this guy's like, hey dude. Just water is running down. Water, foam, whatever you want. Whatever your pleasure. Little waves. Cool things running down towards us. Very neat. Very neat. I don't know. One of my faves. I'll have to call this one of Josh's faves. Little wave around the edge of the rock. Just like that. Very cool. Very cool. Very cool. Boom. I don't even know what to call it. Like, might look cool as a summer scene too. Bunch of greenery back there. Big old tree brand. I mean, we could put giant trees. We could do all sorts of stuff. But again, don't want to make it too difficult for you. So, I hope you guys enjoyed painting this one. I am going to go, Well, I hope you guys enjoyed painting this one. It turned out fantastic, better than I thought it would, and hopefully yours does as well. So I'd love to see them. Send them into us on Facebook. We love going through and seeing every time somebody posts or tags at Paint with Josh, and it always notifies me, and I get to go see it, and I screenshot it, and I save it for my big fan appreciation posts, and it's fantastic. So be sure you're tagging me when you post. I can't wait to see your version of this, and until we see you again, until we see you again next time, either Friday, Wednesday, 5 seconds from now, or Sunday for Sunday Seascapes, you guys take care, have the rest of a good day, and bye-bye.